I want to bring in NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. And as we're looking at these pictures, it's been described by people who were there outside the courthouse, Michael, as kind of a circus-like atmosphere. If we go back to Doral, and we have some other new video of the former president getting into the motorcade, a motorcade that has been described as very much like a presidential motorcade. They shut down that side of the highway. And obviously couldn't be more different from what's happening outside the courthouse, what's happening inside the courthouse. The seriousness of this moment, the first former president charged with federal crimes. Give us your thought from an historian's perspective of what we're watching today.
Well, you're absolutely right, Chris. With his sense of showmanship, he's making this look as if this is triumphant. This is someone who's charged with federal crimes, which could send him to prison, and which are big infringements of the Espionage Act, possible obstruction of justice, 37 counts. You know, it used to be in our society that when someone was accused of something, not necessarily a sense of shame because he is innocent until proven guilty, but at least some sense that this is not a day of celebration. And this is one reason why I agree with what Andrew said and what Katie said and others in our group, that it's astounding that there is almost no transparency about this court appearance today. We're in a situation which is going to be a problem for American life, and that is that many people expected this trial to take place in Washington, D.C. Suddenly, they learned it was going to be in South Florida. The judge looks as if it's going to be a presiding judge, Judge Aileen Cannon, who at an earlier stage of this process made a number of rulings for which she was reprimanded. People need to see and hear what's going on.
Yeah, and I think Ari and I were talking about this earlier, that during Nixon and Watergate and of course, Spiro T. Agnew, his vice president, they never went to trial. So we didn't have this question raised. Having said that, I vividly remember as a high school teenager literally running home from high school to watch the Watergate hearings, to listen to what John Dean had to say, looking at Mo Dean, right, Andrew? I mean, it was, in fact, a seminal moment in my decision to become a journalist, and I think probably tens of thousands of young people like me. And just to be able to see that, to hear the questions, to understand the severity of what they were discussing when he finally resigned and finally waved and said goodbye and resigned was, I think, so important, certainly to the United States as a whole. No, everybody didn't agree with it. They certainly didn't agree with Gerald Ford's pardon, but it meant something incredibly important, I think, to the country, Michael.
Totally. And this is one of the problems that we're talking about, because one of the things for which Judge Cannon was criticized, she said that an ex-president deserved deference that other Americans do not get. That is totally against the idea of the Constitution and everything the Founding Fathers stood for. And all I'm saying is, to have that judge again, if she's going to be presiding over this trial, the only thing we can do is watch everything that goes on, because, I mean, to take a Donald Trump quote, remember he's talked about a Trump-hating judge in New York. Well, this is a Trump-loving judge. This is someone with a history of being very politically active for Donald Trump and a member of the Federalist Society, all of which is absolutely great. But a history of favoritism and incompetence. This is one of the most important criminal trials in American history. We've got to watch the judge.
And to that point, Michael, how important is it, assuming that we're not going to get to see this trial or hear this trial, and that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is not going to open this up for cameras or audio even, but how important is it for this trial to be credible to the American people? For us, it's our responsibility, yours as a historian. The lawyers on both sides really should take this responsibility as well. But we clearly know that each side has their own case to make. But how important is it for the American people to really understand and have faith in the outcome of this, given the fact that the aftermath of Watergate and the pardon did last for decades and decades, if not to today, even though, as I was saying earlier before you were on, that Gerald Ford felt very importantly that he did the right thing and was honored for that by the Profiles in Courage Award from Caroline Kennedy, as you know very well. That said, there's an unfinished business. Spiro Agnew took cash in his White House office. This was proved, and yet was allowed on the decision by Elliot Richardson to step down because it was viewed as too dangerous to have the vice president under criminal indictment and trial at the same time as you had a president being investigated.
Right. And, you know, someone who takes something from a drugstore and goes to jail, you know, under our law might fairly say, what is wrong here if you have a president of the United States, Nixon in 73 and 74, serious crimes for which he certainly would have been impeached and convicted if he had stayed in office and not resigned, for which he would have certainly, I believe, been accused, indicted, and probably gone to prison if Gerald Ford had not given him a pardon. What does it say about equal justice in this country? So whatever the result of this particular trial is of Donald Trump, among a number of trials that are going to go on, both people who love Trump and people who hate Trump are going to have to feel that the system worked. That's going to be very hard.